Welcome to CED Office Hour Live. Welcome today to CED Office Hour Live, where our community and economic development team here at Central State University reaches out and engages you, the community, and businesses, stakeholders, and other organizations and individuals on all things community and economic development. And with that being said, we like to start out with kind of a baseline definition of community and economic development, as we commonly refer to as CED. CED looks at how we live, work, play, thrive, and navigate through all the spaces of life. So on one end is the economic development, which deals more with building new buildings, affordable housing, building highways, parks, all kinds of things, just infrastructure kind of things. And then the other end is the people development, and that's workforce development, personal development, quality of life kind of programming, social services, things like that. And the connector between the two, which are the businesses and organizations, such as ourselves and such as some of you on this call. And so we as CED professionals, this is a very, as you see, wide breadth of things that encompass CED work, and we all have different expertise. So as a CED professional, we look at that whole system and we plug and play in areas that are within our bandwidth and our areas of expertise. And one of those areas of expertise that we work a lot in is the entrepreneurship ecosystem. And with that, and it's a lot of business development tools. So with that today, after Eric and Ambrose introduce themselves, we'll do brief introductions. And then Ambrose will lead us on a training and discussion on what he developed I like to call it the Ambrose for Business page, the 4-page business plan, right? And he's modest, but I'm going to, because he's Ambrose Moses III, so it's AM3's 4-page business plan. And he's going to take us through that we use this tool a lot. The USDA has informally said it's wonderful because people come in with them very organized and very targeted as to their needs, and it helps them to help them in a more efficient and way. But we're going to add to that a little bit discussion on AI technology, artificial intelligence, and how that is applicable even to developing that 4-page business plan. And we're going to walk you through some strategies on how to use AI in your business planning. So without further ado, I'd like Eric and Ambrose to briefly introduce themselves, and then we'll get into our discussion.
Yeah, thanks, Amber, and thanks for setting up this space. I'm really excited. This really is an extremely useful tool, and I know Ambrose has gone the extra mile learning how to use technology to make this even more useful for people. So really excited to be here. I'm again Eric, Program Extension Associate supporting the Community and Economic Development Unit here at Central State Extension.
All right. Well, I'm glad to be here this afternoon. Ambrose Moses, extension educator. My territory is Central Ohio, Franklin County, and I've been with the team since 2017, actually. And our topic today, as Amber made reference to, in terms of the sort of entrepreneurship aspect that we deal with, along with the wide range of different things that come under the umbrella of community and economic development. Entrepreneurship or business ownership, operating, starting, expanding a business, all of those are things that you do that it takes some planning, and whether you write it down or don't write it down, you're still going through some kind of process. And so what we look to do is to help folks as well with understanding the business planning process. So what I am going to do is share my screen, and we will go through a discussion of the 4-page business plan, and then we'll talk a little bit about some of the current technology and how we might be able to use some of that in addressing the 4-page plan. All right, let me get my screen shared. All right, is it displaying the title slide? Do you guys see that? All right.
Yes.
Okay. So business planning. So what is a business plan? A business plan, it's simply stated, is as a written description of your business's future. You're going to write down, what it is that you want your business to be tomorrow, next month, next year, whatever period of time that you're looking to cover going into the future. Now, obviously, you may draw upon some information that you currently have, or things that you have done or have seen, or that your business has experienced in the past, but it is a written description of what you intend or expect or would like to have happen into the future. Now, that is a very general, very basic description, and of course, that could lead to a lot of different interpretations. Some folks may look at, such as this image here. His business plan is quite simple. He's going to buy some bags with dollar signs on them, and then just fill the bags with money. That's a very simple plan. It is a plan, but there's probably a little bit more that someone would need in that context. You might need to look at, what is going to be the source, of the money that you're going to put into those bags. So when we give that basic definition, it is important to think that, there's going to have to be some level of detail and usable detail added to that. You may even, build it a little bit more, such as Cartman here. He made his a 4-point plan. I know we're talking about a 4-page business plan, but the way that Cartman is explaining it here, he's going to start up, he's going to cash out, he's going to sell out, and then bro down. So that is a plan. And when we look at some of the businesses today, and you have your whole range of folks going through things with their businesses and their different styles and approaches, and I'm sure there's some folks out there who are taking the Cartman approach, but as we want to get a little more detailed, a little more serious on it, and talk about the business plan as a living document that you can change as your vision and circumstances shift for your company. Now, there are some basic components that we typically, when we sit back and we talk about it in a more sort of academic and advisory manner, there are several components that go into a full detailed business plan that is very actionable, and what that would entail would be much like this list here. Business plan executive summary, which we often hear that's one of the first parts of the business plan, but is written last after you go through the remaining components here: the market analysis, the company description, the organization and management structure of the business, marketing and sales, because you have to know what your product is and or service, and how are you going to let others know about that? How are you going to distribute it to them? Your service or your product line, your funding requests, because you're going to you may need to have funds for your business. Is it going to be by investment? Is it going to be by loans? Is it going to be capital injection out of your savings? There's a a lot of different things to consider, even with respect to that. And then your financial projections. What is the cost of this business, or starting or operating, paying staff, your buying your inventory, your supplies, your rent for your space, or purchasing a space, whatever those may be. What are going to be the revenue that's going to come in? What are the sources of that revenue? So all of these things are major components that go into a full detailed business plan. And then your appendix, which many times folks sort of overlook, is going to be the documentation, some of the evidence that supports the numbers, the projections that you have within your business plan. So as you can see, that can be rather detailed, and if you're talking with someone who is new to business, even who's been in business for a while, it can be a little overwhelming just to throw those topics and a deep discussion of those at someone. So there have been developed by many experts and folks over the years of different ways to address the business planning process. Break it down into ways that people can understand, can visualize, because people learn in different manners, which is something that we as extension educators, as extension professionals, like to keep in mind as we share information to the community. So one of those approaches is the business model canvas, and we actually have a series of classes or sessions where we go through the business model canvas with class attendees, and it's it breaks down the business process, business development, business planning process as like a model, and it's more visual as it lays out the different components on a canvas, and you're going to have one document that's going to have these key descriptors or key descriptions, information, bullet points that go under these major categories. But even though that information is fitting on this one page, on this business model canvas, there's a lot of other information, a lot of other pages, things that the business owner has gathered together that would support this business model canvas. So even though we have the one document, there is a lot of other information that has been gathered and analyzed to populate this document and be able to convey that to the business owner, but also so the business owner can convey that to others. Now, part of what we do in extension as well is work with a lot of agricultural projects, farmers, producers. That's one of the mainstays of cooperative extension in the land grant system. And so there are publications, materials that are designed to address some of the business planning needs and approaches for farms as well, farms, rural businesses, agricultural projects. And so this is one of the resources that's often used. We use it at Central State, and other extension services across the country use it as well. But you can see here even that the table of contents of this work, this book, is rather detailed as well, and there are a lot of components, a lot of good information, but it could be a little overwhelming for someone who is very new to business, and they may have a small operation, and may not be as easily understood by them. And so one thing that I have seen just from my own personal experience is participating in different workshops and sessions where we go through the business planning process with the attendees. But I would get up as a lawyer. There would be someone else who would speak about marketing, someone else who would come up and speak about some of the accounting and financials. And as I would watch the audience, it was all excellent and good information. But many times I would sort of observe the audience, and they were polite. They sat there, they watched, but you could see their eyes were sort of glassing over the information. It was information overload. So they knew it was important, they knew it was valuable, but it was just too much at one time, almost like trying to take a drink out of a fire hose. It's a lot to deal with. And so I started to think, what can we do? There has to be some way to try and break this down, to walk folks through this process, to sort of break the ice. And one of the ideas that came to mind was the 4-page business plan, which essentially takes 4 sheets of paper. At that time, you take 4 sheets of paper, and you're looking to just spend 10 minutes on each page, so that you can get your first draft done within 1 hour. So you're going to have your 4 pages. First page is going to be just a description of your business. You sit down and you do a brain dump in terms of what is your business, what's your idea that you have. And most people can do that pretty easily. They know what they're thinking. This is what I would like to do. So they can pretty much do that first page pretty easily. Then you get to the page 2, and it relates to one of the issues that uh, if someone says that their business plan is incomplete, this is probably one of the areas. The financials, the expenses and the costs that are involved with starting the business, expanding the business. So that's one of those areas where people have some trouble. So the approach here is to take page 2, and we'll go into more detail as we move forward, is to take page 2 and list out the expenses, the things that come to mind, expenses, costs that are associated with this new business or this expansion that you're doing. Then you're going to go to page 3. What are you in business for? You're in business to generate some revenue, some profit, some income from that. So you're going to list out on page 3 what are the sources of that income or revenue that you're looking for. And then finally, you're going to have page 4. Like I said, we'll go into more detail, but page 4, you're going to list, what do you currently have, as some of your resources available to you. Now, in terms of discussing this in context, what we've done as a CED team is put together a sort of basic case study that when we work with groups and in person and going through a series of sessions, we'll bring up this case study of we call her her name is Tracy, and she has a business that she started on Edgemont Grows LLC, and it's a small agricultural business that she is creating, and she has her different reasons for wanting to do that. To grow food, to generate income, to supplement the income to her household, build family or generational wealth, sort of start that path. There's a lot of things, different things that Tracy wants to do with her business, and she goes through a series of activities to do that. In terms of getting involved with some training similar to the kinds of things that we do here at Central State in terms of beginning farmer and incubator farmer type activities. And so we go through sort of that process, especially when we're talking with some of the agricultural groups. And then so we take that case study, and then we look to apply the 4-page business plan concept to that. And so it gives us a way to sort of illustrate some aspects of the 4-page plan that I just went over very, very briefly. And so that's what we'll take a look at here now. And so as we indicated earlier, you're going to take the idea is to take four pages of paper and basically number them. Suggestion is to do it utilizing a word processor, such as a Microsoft Word or Google Docs, application such as that. And the reason for utilizing that technology is so that you can come back and revise the document over time, because it's going to start, we say 4 pages. You start as 4 pages, but as you go through this process, it's going to grow. You're going to gather more and more information. If you recall, the part of the main reason for this approach is to break the ice, break the concepts down so that it's easily accessible for most anyone to gather that information and start putting it together. Now, when you do the 4-page plan, when you have your have your completed plan, have your initial draft even, it's not really a document that you are looking to take to the bank, take to your investors. This is going to be a working document for you as the business owner. However, the information that you're gathering and starting to categorize and organize in the 4-page plan is going to be that detail that you're going to need for that more complex, detailed business plan that we described with the several different categories. Once you've done your 4-page plan, you'll have much of the information to start populating those components of a full detailed business plan. You'd have to flesh it out more, but this sort of breaks the ice and leads you into that. So with respect to page 1, as we said, you're going to describe your business idea or your growth strategy. You might be an existing business and you're looking to describe your growth strategy. And so page 1, simply going to be a page, describe your business idea or growth strategy. You have your different lines of so you can write down your text. And so what we've done here, we've taken just some components of Tracy's business overview, her mission statement, vision statement, and some of her goals, and put those down, just sort of pasted those onto page 1. There's no limit in terms of how much you add to page 1. You want to take, as we said, during your first draft, take 10 minutes, spend 10 minutes on it, and then move on to your page 2. The idea is to have that accomplishment of having that draft done in that 1 hour. So it's gonna be a recurring thing that we're gonna say, spend 10 minutes, then you move on. You're not gonna have everything. That's fine. What you're trying to do is to move forward and to get through this process, have your draft, and then you'll be able to come back and refine it over time. So then page 2, we talked about starting to get into the financials. And so with these financials, it's going to be itemizing the startup and operating expenses that are needed for that business. So for page 2, it's going to be structured a little differently. You're going to have more of a table format where you're going to have your description of what the expense or cost is, then or item is. Then you're going to have the source. Where are you going to purchase this from, or acquire it from? However you're going to get access to it, and then what is the cost of that? Now, as you sit there and spend your 10 minutes on page 2, you might have some ideas of some things that go and give your descriptions, but you may or may not know what the source is going to be. You may not know where you're going to actually buy or get access to those items that you're describing. But that's fine. So you just complete what you can during that 10-minute period. And then, so now you might know the source the description and a possible source, but you don't know the cost. But now, at least once you've done this, gone through this process, you have on your to-do list to go out and find research and find that cost. Either do it online or go visit various stores or vendors and find out, come back with a cost to put down on your page 2 of your 4-page plan. In looking at Tracy's situation with Edgemont Grows, so one of her descriptions, she's doing a farm, she's doing an agricultural project to be a producer, and so she needs land. So under description, she puts down land. And in terms of a source, excuse me, in terms of a source, she put down the county's land bank. She heard that the county has a land bank, that people who are doing urban farms are able to go to the county and get access to land, for little or no cost. She doesn't know a lot of detail about it. She doesn't know how much it costs. She doesn't know the process, but that's what she's heard about as a possible source. And so she puts that down. And so now she has something on her to-do list going out and finding more detail about the land from the county's land bank. Now, obviously, there's going to be other things that she'll need to put on her list as well as she looks to build it. But this is sort of her starting point from that first 10 minutes. Then we go to page 3, and we talked about to list the different revenue streams, and it's important to really put some time in thinking of the revenue streams. You may have your initial idea of what product or service you're going to offer, but there may be multiple things that you can do, that are related, that are other additional sources of revenue for your business. So that's why you want to spend a little time. And there may be some other things that come up that you realize are possible sources, are different ways to bring in revenue. And so you're going to have, it's going to look similar to the expenses, description, a source, and then you're going to list, what is the sort of projected or expected revenue from that description and source. So in the context of Edgemont Grows, Tracy knows that, she was going to do a farm. She's going to grow vegetables. And so the description is vegetables in terms of what the item is that she's going to sell, and her source is her farm. And right now she doesn't know exactly how much to expect as revenue. So she'll need to research how to project the revenue from the amount of farmland, farm space that she has, what products, what produce she's going to grow, and what volume of that she's going to or expects to sell. But as she sort of went through the brainstorming process of, well, what else can I do? You see on here she has provide classes and tours. So there are folks, there's growing interest in agriculture and urban agriculture. And so she may be able to provide classes where students from the local school or just folks in the community or surrounding areas may want to come and visit her location for classes, to take a tour of her operation, to learn some things from her about how she cultivates her products, her produce, or other things that she may be able to teach about the, related to that farming activity. So then, so she has that as a description. Then now she has to think, well, what would be a source of some of these classes or tours? So she needs to go out and do some research. Maybe contact some of the schools, maybe contact or research some of the agencies or organizations that help to coordinate these type of tours. There might be some nonprofits, organizations that do that type of thing. And then look at what kind of revenue can be generated, either fees that are paid by those who are coming to visit, or maybe there are grants available for providing this kind of service, educational service to the public. But that would be her page 3. So she'll spend 10 minutes. That's the information she has at the time. And then she moves on to her page 4, which is doing an inventory of your existing resources, which is one of the important things for really anyone going into business. Many times folks say, well, it's going to cost money. It's going to take these resources. And so I got to have money in order to do that. Well, the first thing is to really look at what you have access to. And once you have a good inventory of the things available to you, currently available to you, it may reduce some of that cost, some of that sort of anxiety of where am I going to get this, where am I going to get that? And so on page 4, you're going to give a description of the resources that you have, and then what is the source of those? It may be financial in terms of cash. It may be equipment. It may be various relationships that you have with different professionals, different individuals or groups to provide needed labor for your project. There may be specialists or advisors at different organizations. There are nonprofit organizations, governmental organizations that can provide some assistance, and some of those things may be available to you. So you just want to sort of inventory that range of things that are available to you and your business as part of that planning process.
And
Then,
Ambrose, I think one of the
Mhm.
key points here too is that everything isn't just dollars. It's a resource is more than just a monetary attainment, right? It's more than a dollar. Some things are giving you technical assistance or free services, in-kind services,
Mhm.
or might be a way to get a contract because you're partnering with them. So it's relationships, potential good relationships that would help your business as well.
Yes, absolutely. And I thank you for sharing that comment. And that was one of the reasons for mentioning different relationships and that thing. So yeah, very, very good observation there. Um, and so with respect to Tracy, her existing inventory of existing resources, she has access to land. We saw earlier that she needed land and she was going to look at the county land bank, but she has access to land that her grandparents own. So that's one thing to look at. Maybe that could be used for her project. We'd have to know where her grandparents' land is located. But if it's close enough, or if she has easy access to it, that might be a potential site. So she'll go ahead and list that as a potential, as a resource that she has. And then as part of her operation, she's looking to have a high tunnel, erected on the land, on the farm, in order to sort of extend her growing season. And so she had heard that there is a program, the EQIP program with the USDA, Natural Resource Conservation Service. And so where they provide some financial funding to obtain these kind of practices that you implement on your property. And so that's something that she puts down as a potential resource, that if she can get that, now she can get the high tunnel purchased and built, and then she doesn't have to come out of pocket for that. Those are other resources that are available to her. So those are things that you do. Again, spend that 10 minutes, complete the page 4, and then we get to the most, one of the important components of this approach is to do the 3 R's: review, revise, repeat. You want to review your 4-page plan, look at the information that you have, look at the gaps in information, and then you go out, gather information, then you come back and you revise it. You add the details, you take away some things, based upon what you've learned in your research and fact gathering, and then you just repeat that process, and your business plan will grow and it'll become more and more complete over time. You can set to do it weekly, monthly, or whatever kind of time schedule works for you in your particular circumstance. But it's to really break down that process and make it really easily accessible for everyone. But that sort of takes us to our sort of part two here, where in the recent months, really the last couple of years, but recent months, there have been a lot of discussion about some of the artificial intelligence or AI technology. And so we've been working on, I've been working on a project of how to utilize, can we utilize something such as ChatGPT to help facilitate this business planning process with the 4-page business plan. And so let me pull up my document here. And so with ChatGPT, it is a solution, artificial intelligence solution that allows for you to put in different prompts or information to search, and it pulls together data out of this large body of information that's been added to their system. And from this large body of information, it generates responses to the requests, or what we call prompts, that you put into the system. And so what we've been working on, they recently, within the last few months, have done what's called a custom GPT, which allows individuals to structure some of the back end of the GPT service to address specific topics. And so what I've been working on here is to put together some information, the back end, to help take someone through the 4-page business plan process. And so what we're going to do here, we said that the example we gave, you take 10 minutes on each page. We're not going to take that long on each page here. We've put together an overview, sort of an executive summary here of the description for Edgemont Grows. And so what I'm going to do is take the custom GPT here, and we're going to click on the prompt, initiate a 4-page business plan session. So we click on that, and based on the instructions that have been engineered into the application, it gives us this initial response here, where it's welcoming you into the process. Let's start with page 1 of your 4-page plan. Describe your business idea. It talks about the things that we sort of went over in our session here. What is the core product? Who is your target customer? What problem are you trying to solve? Those kinds of things. All right. So then we'll go back to our description. We're just going to do some cut and paste so we don't have to go through and do everything from scratch while we're on our session here. So we copy the first 2 paragraphs. We'll go ahead and paste those in as our prompt. And then it processes, and immediately it starts to give us a response for page 1. And so it talks about it gives us a layout here, the business idea description, the Edgemont Grows LLC, founded by Tracy. Talks a little bit about Tracy, the location being Dayton, what's her vision and mission. And some of that comes from the information that we put in. And you're able to now cut and paste this into a separate document, and then you can revise it, as you see fit. So it gives you some initial information to work with for your page 1, And you can use it as is, or you can revise it to tweak those details. All right, so then we'll go to working on page 2. Give me 1 second here. So it's asking, first of all, would you like to proceed with analyzing your market, detailing your product, or jumping into another area of planning? So you can see here that you could go into more detail, and the Chat GPT will help you to take you through that process. But we're going to say move forward. So that we can go to page 2. All right. And so it's going to ponder for a second. And then it tells us that it's going to move to page 2. Then it's going to talk about what page 2 is, talking about the startup expenses. So it's actually giving some of the discussion that we just went through during our face-to-face here. The Chat GPT, the custom GPT, is going through that process. And so it wants to know what information in terms of, could you provide some estimates for these expenses? So we're going to go to our overview. And in terms of expenses, all we know right now, Tracy knows that the initial investment will be used to purchase equipment, seeds, and other necessary supplies. So we're going to put that in as the prompt to get started on that page 2. So we just started with that little sentence. And so it creates a table based upon some of the basic information that's typically needed for businesses of this nature. And you can see in the table, it's listing out business registration, legal fees, irrigation setup. Some of these may apply, some may not to Tracy's operation. So she would be able to edit this, add or delete whatever she needed. And then she would be able to go out and it does not have any cost. So she'd have to go out and research the different costs. But you can see this is a simple process that's being done, and she's getting a lot of assistance from technology here. And so we're going to say, please move forward to page 3. You could ask in more details, but she wants to now go to page 3. And one thing with the artificial intelligence, one thing to keep in mind is that based upon how it uses information, it's called generative AI. So you give a prompt, you supply information, and then it predicts what the information should be. You can give the same prompt multiple times, and the information, the layout of it that it provides will differ each time. It's typically not going to be exactly the same. The core content, the core meaning may be the same, but the sort of layout of it could very well be different. And in fact, in this scenario here, it responded in terms of our page 3, which is the listing of the revenue and expenses. It's given us an option between two responses, right on the screen. It doesn't always do it like this, but you can see that they're very similar in terms of the content, but the specific phrasing and structure is different. So we're going to pick just the side here, response 1. Okay, so now we have page 3 of the 4-page plan completed with the assistance of the Chat GPT. And it serves as a starting point again. She'll need to go out and find information to complete the details in terms of the numbers especially. All right, and so now we will move to to page 4. And when you enter your prompts in your GPT, you can just enter it in a conversational manner. You don't have to um, be like a computer programmer with various syntax and things of that nature. Just in a more conversational kind of tone in terms of your writing. And so we're
Can
asking it to
you
move.
give us a couple examples of those prompts, like the ones you may have used in this example or other examples or other
Well,
times you've used?
yes. Well, actually, each of the entries that I'm putting into the box here is technically a prompt. Now, in creating the custom GPT, there's like a they call it instructions, but like essentially like a master prompt, which sort of sets the stage for how the GPT is going to respond. Because you saw how it's taken us, it responded, taking us through the sequence related to the 4-page plan. That's based upon that master prompt that's in there as the instructions that says this is what we want to talk about. You could actually ask it other things and it may actually go and start answering other questions outside of this context if you ask it enough. But I will, if we have enough time, I can, maybe go into some of that, or maybe we'll do that for another session, because it is very interesting. But it's a very helpful tool for individuals who are working with a lot of information, and also business owners as well. All right, so you can see here, in terms of page 4, um, it wants to it's going to take us through things to look at for the resources that are available doing your inventory. And so what we will do real quickly is go to the end of our overview, and Tracy has some items here in terms of her resources available. So we just have a little paragraph, and we'll go back to and paste this in, talking about the cash that she has. She has some farming tools, some family members who can volunteer. She has a truck, and she has a good friend who's a lawyer. And there's some organizations in town, SBDC, SBA, and the Minority Business Assistance Center. And so we input that information, and then it does a list, a table of her inventory of existing resources. And then in terms of a description, you'll see that it talks about the source, whether it's financial, physical, human, or networks or support systems. And then finally, so those are the things that that we have in terms of those 4 pages. Then we can go and see if we can get the Chat GPT to give us something that might be more usable. We talked about doing a cut and paste, where you can hit the little button here to copy the text that it provided, and then you can paste that into another document. But let's see if we go ahead and add a prompt. Could you generate the plan, the 4-page plan, in a Microsoft Word format that I can download? And let's see if it will be able to assist us with that. So it tells you what it's doing, that it's going to summarize the information. So it's going over it's going over the 4 pages. Now it's processing, and it says it's creating the document. So we will see here if it actually gives us our Word document, which if it does so, now that gives you a very great start that you can then go in and edit that as your 4-page plan. So this will give you your draft.
And I think that's a key point right there as well, is that when it does that, you still need to read over it and make sure you edit. because there's different ways to say different things, and it can come up with the wrong meaning or wrong connotation for your
Yes,
individual industry or lingo. So this is just a way to draft and get well on your way, but you can't just do it, cut and paste it, and go on your merry way and not read over again. So
exactly,
like
exactly. You
like
do,
that out.
yes, you do have to read it and edit it. But this can help you. And so it did create a file that says we can download the file. Um, so let's click this, and it's downloaded. So let's see what happens when we open this. Enable editing. So it created this 4-page plan. You can see it put it all on one page here, but it says page 1, page 2, page 3, page 4, just a summary of what we provided. Now we can go in and we can ask more information, ask it to format it differently. But let's say if we went ahead and I know we got to end here our session, but use our manipulation of the Word document and put each of these outputs that it provided onto a separate page. Now we have an actual 4-page document to go back in and edit, as necessary. So it does help us to do that.
I
So
think
I
another
will.
use of this chat GPT is, sometimes in business you have tense conversations. That's a good way to put it.
Mhm.
And, sometimes your emotions cannot be the best when you're writing. So putting it in this chat GPT will kind of ease that. It also can give you strategies to approach, like what is a strategy around a particular issue? And that can give you some particular strategies and what could be the next steps on those strategies. So it's also a very good planning tool as well. So those are just some
Yes.
basic uses that I've used, because I've had some of those times of emails and I was like, well, I can't send this, but my mind is like, I'm not, I can't get over that hump. So I used that and that kind of toned it down and made it more professional. And then I felt better. Then I said, okay, I can send this out. So that's another way to use
Exactly.
it.
Exactly.
Here.
And that's where the prompt engineering comes into play as well, to what you're to the
Yes.
point that you're making there. And so that becomes a tool, a business tool, prompt
Yes.
engineering for business professionals, business owners. Eric, I think you had your hand up. You had a question, comment?
Yeah, I'm just curious, like, so you've created the, an environment where you're working with the AI. Can other people go to that 4-page business plan, or or how does this work?
Um, that's part of what I'm still working on that aspect. Right now, um, to get access to it, one, I would have to share it publicly. They do have a GPT store that you can post your application to. But then folks have to have for this particular scenario that we're talking about, they would have to have Chat GPT Plus, which is a paid service in order to access it. For our use within cooperative extension, I would want to have it where it's generally available, to folks. And so right now it's still in sort of a development stage, and I'm looking at different ways to apply it to the kind of trainings that we do, the education and trainings that we provide. So let me check right here real quick to see if, okay, yeah. So I did a quick little prompt there to ask it to add the tables to the output, and so it did generate it, because you remember before it just had it in paragraph form, and so it did generate the
Mhm.
tables that we had been getting all along. So being able to do the prompt engineering being able to manipulate it, that becomes, the real skill or tool that the business owner would develop and utilize in this process. And then as they build their business, to the point that Amber was making about communications and changing the tone of your different communications with your customers or with some other parties, all of that comes into play, creating some of your internal documents within your company. So you get an opportunity to sort of pull in other information into your work, your workflow, and into your business practices, and in terms of your, as we talk about here, your planning process. So it can get a lot more detailed, a lot more complex. We just went with our very basic one here today, but it is something I think that will be is and can be very helpful for a lot of businesses of various stages and levels of development, and for those of us who are engaging and training and educating the public. It helps us. It gives us an opportunity to pull together collections of information and data, and to sort of curate it and make it available, sort of scripted out, so that we can take someone through a process even if we're not present. They can get largely some of the process and responses that we would provide, even if we're not present. So.
And I think that it's good to know, for people to know that technology is going to be a part of the business, running the business, right? And AI, the way the trends are going, is not going away. Because even if you go into, I just got a prompt in my Gmail account, hey, do you want to use their version of artificial intelligence, right? And in our Microsoft, they already have, I think it's called Copilot or something that they have. So a lot of these major platforms are creating the AI, some version of this chat AI, into the everyday things that we use, just as simple as your Gmail account. So
Yes.
I think this is opportunity for the people that we work with to kind of stay ahead of it and learn the practical ways to use it. And it kind of is more efficient on your time too. So you can spend more time working, as we always say, on your business and not in your business.
Right. Exactly.
Is there anything, I mean, I'm just wondering, is there any way that, like, say, for example, I guess you're saying every individual has to have that paid subscription to use, these environments?
No, they have free
No,
versions.
I mean, when you, if you've trained, if you got, I forget what you called it, Ambrose, but you've
A
trained
custom GPT.
custom GPT.
Yes.
For this particular scenario here, yes, that you have to have a subscription. But that's why I'm trying to see what there are many other options that are being developed and made, and eventually they're very likely going to make this where it's more open, where you can create a custom GPT that is now available to the general public, because
Because of
that
the
would be a
competition.
phenomenal, exactly, a use case for that, just like what we're talking about right here. I mean, that's a prime use case. We want to create one that the general public can have access to. So,
Boy, I think, one use I can think of, like, off the top of my head, where that would be like ideal in CED world, and we could really be on the edge along with what you're doing, of course. That's cutting edge, but like resume writing. I mean, if somebody could just say, I worked from this year to this year and did this job, and then it can extrapolate, well, that means you probably did these tasks, right? And put it all in a format. That would be
so
interesting to have that kind of environment, where a custom environment, you could do a class on resume writing, but while they're doing that, they're putting in the information for the different sections.
okay, so Y'all want to continue for a few more minutes?
Yeah, sure.
Okay. All right. So we're gonna what I like to say,
More
be
time with you,
formless like
Ambrose, of course.
be formless like water. All right. So here we go. All right. So we back over here. This was the start. I hit on the 4-page plan. So these are in the top left here are some of the custom GPTs that I've been working on. I even have one called Extension Agent that I've been working on that would sort of create an environment where you could have multiple the knowledge base of multiple extension agents under one GPT. So we're CED. I'm CED, but I could actually have a GPT that brings together information from ANR or FCS under this one GPT. But to the point that you were asking,
I think
Eric,
we should
about.
call it. We should title it Ambrose Moses the fourth.
Yep.
Well, that's my son. That's my son, but I can't.
Oh, okay,
I
the
can't,
fifth.
I can't
Okay,
say-
the fifth.
So
Okay,
This is the
Ambrose
intellectual. This is
Moses,
the
3
intellectual side.
squared.
three
Ambrose
square.
Moses, 3 squared.
Okay, so y'all gonna get into cloning online. All right, so there is so I was talking about the GPT store. So that's where it says explore GPTs here, and you were saying you're talking about resumes. So I haven't been in the store for quite a while, but this is where folks have other custom GPTs that they've created. So writing, creating books, because I thought I saw, I'll be able to search for it. I thought I saw resume somewhere. Um, but we can just go back up to the top and we'll put in resume. So if we're talking about workforce development or what have you, so there are several, it looks like, create resumes. Create an outstanding resume in PDF format that will increase your chances of, I guess, securing a job. Looks like there's been 25,000 people. Here's one where it looks like there's been 100,000 folks use it. So let's go to that one. So it says resume. By combining the expertise of top resume writers with advanced AI, we assist in diagnosing and enhancing your resume. So they're conversation starters. Can you help me analyze my resume? Can you help me tailor my resume for this job? How to make my resume ATS compatible. I'm not sure what is ATS. Do you guys know, or?
Is that one of the
I,
engines?
I think that's one of those. Yeah, I think it's one. Yeah.
Probably the main.
It looks for different terms.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Then find jobs that fit my job. So let's say, can you help me analyze? So then it takes them to the environment similar to the 4-page plan. And it says, of course, please upload your resume and we'll get started. So then down here, you see where it has the paperclip, you're able to click that and then they would be able to add their resume, upload that to the system.
Okay.
And then it would evaluate that. Okay. So it's amazing. There's a lot that it can do. But that's all that I really had today for our CED Office Hour Live in terms of the 4-page business plan and sort of leveraging technology, leveraging the AI technology to help sort of speed up that process. And actually, what I like to look at it as is also sort of unlocking the ideas that people have. Many people that we work with, they know what they want to do. Sometimes there's a challenge in putting it into words to communicate it to others. One, to communicate it to themselves, to sort of organize it. Then two, how do they communicate it to others? And I think that the technology can help them to sort of unleash those ideas and help with that expression of what they're trying to achieve. And that
Eric,
brings
do
us
you
to a
have any
close.
closing comments or questions?
Oh, no, this is really insightful, Ambrose. I really appreciate it, and um, I love the time you spent with this, and just yeah, I think that's going to be really really valuable for us.
Yes, we continue with that. So once again, thank you for joining us today for CED Office Hour Live. Feel free to send us. I put in our contact information in the chat. Feel free to send us your ideas of something topics you want us to cover. But we meet every Thursday here online at 2 p.m. Next Thursday we will have the Uptown Consortium, and they have done a lot of urban development. Right now, they're concentrating on an area, a highway intersection, exit ramp that was just developed, right? And opened up a couple years ago. But that, as you know, when you have highways and you have these exit and entrance ramps, those become hubs for redevelopment or development. And that's what's happening. So we'll use that as a case study, and they'll talk about how they acquired property over the last 20 years, things that are going down, and their space, even in dealing with the area universities, research institutions. It's a pretty cool area, kind of 1 square mile, but it's a whole lot of development going on in that area. So they'll talk about the different things and how they partner and collaborate and continue to be a stakeholder in the community. And so we look forward to Beth Robinson and her Uptown Consortium team next week. But until then, enjoy. Please do not forget to check out our Central State University Extension channel on YouTube, where we house all of the archived all of our previous episodes. And look forward to seeing you next week at 2 o'clock. And this concludes today's version of CED Office Hour Live.